Our top 10 Kickstarters from 2020. Welcome to Tantrum House Studio D. I'm Melissa Delp.
And I'm Kevin Delp. Today we're doing our top 10 Kickstarters from 2020. This is our Studio D. So these are only games that we previewed, we overviewed on our Studio D channel.
Right. There are tons and tons of awesome Kickstarters.
Right.
But only the ones we previewed are eligible for this list. If you want to see what all of those are, you can basically look at our Kickstarter playlist and see which ones Kevin or I did.
Will and Sarah will also be doing their Studio 3 top Kickstarters, so look for that video coming shortly. But without further ado, let's get started on our top 10 with some honorable mentions at the end.
My number 10 is Lions of Lydia from Bellwether Games. It's for 2 to 4 players, plays in about 30 to 60 minutes. Now this game has a bit of a bag building element in it. You have merchants, different colored meeples in your bag, and you're going to pull one out, and then you can decide whether you want to put it at a gate, and that's going to help you build up your resources in different colors areas, or you can put it at the fountain and then purchase some tiles. And I enjoyed the interplay because depending on how many other merchants and what colors were there, it would affect what could happen when you placed your person.
I kind of like the surprise of what color meeple is going to come out of the bag.
Although, Kevin, when you put all yellow meeples in your bag, I think you're going to get a yellow.
Yeah, so there's some strategy there. My number 10 is Streets. This is from Sinister Fish Games. This game is for 1 to 5 players, plays in about 30 to 60 minutes. It has tile laying, it has set collection. You are collectively building your own, not your own, collectively building a town competitively.
Yes.
Building.
Collectively, competitively.
Right, but it's all going in the same, sort of like Carcassonne. You're all putting the tiles out in the middle of the board, and you are playing these tiles at the right time to get the most points, eventually enclosing your streets. And then there's these meeples that are different colors, and they're moving around throughout the game. I will tell you, the first time I played this, it was a little hard to wrap my mind around how those people were moving.
I did a great job of thinking ahead, being like, oh, those yellow tourists or whichever type are going to have to move, and I have a yellow building, so they're all going to come to me.
Yeah, so took me a game to learn that, but I really like how the people move and go to different areas on the different tiles. There's some expansions or some extra things with the asymmetry with player powers that you can add in. So there's things that you can add in or take away depending on how simple the game or how more complex you want it. But my number 10, Streets from Sinister Fish.
Number 9 for me is Public Market from Talon Strike Studios. This is for 2 to 4 players. Plays in about an hour to an hour and a half. Basically, you are fishermen in the Pacific Northwest, I guess. And you are bidding for the fish that you're going to get.
Oh, yes.
And it has polyomino tiles, which I love, which you are then placing into your ice chest. And once that's full, then you can sell the fish for different prices based on the market. And you're trying to collect certain types for a set collection aspect of the game. I don't know if the theme was my favorite, catching fish, but I do love the tile placement in this.
I was going to say the one thing that actually drew me to the game was the theme. So see if it fits well then, because I did enjoy the game. I also like the theme as well. For me, Embarcadero is my number 9 from Renegade Game Studios. This game is for 1 to 4 players, takes about 60 to 90 minutes to play. This is set in the mid-1800s in San Francisco, where people started to grow their empire on derelict ships.
Yeah, I thought that theme was very interesting, how they basically built their buildings, their houses, and businesses on the ships.
Yeah, and this game is not just like flat tiles that you're doing in Embarcadero. You actually have three-dimensional buildings and structures that you're actually placing. There's some area control going on as you're building next to your opponents. I like the buildings. I like the different ships that you have to try to get and place them in the right spots as you're building them. So I like the gameplay, but I also like the history that comes with Embarcadero. So you're learning as you play the game.
Yeah, I mean, you can play as Ghirardelli. Who doesn't love chocolate?
Who doesn't love chocolate?
My number 8 is Mind Management, the psychic espionage game. This is from Off the Page Games, and it's for 2 to 5 players, plays in about an hour. This is a one versus many hidden movement game with deduction elements.
That's why you like it, the deduction.
Yes, I really enjoyed the deduction. We had a pretty epic playthrough of this. It's on our channel that you can watch. Kevin was playing as the one.
I thought I had it in the bag.
Spoilers. But I did really enjoy this one, working with the team and trying to solve where Kevin was with deduction.
Yeah, and you can play as the one or the many, so I think there's gives a little variety to them as well. For me, my number 8 is Frosthaven from Cephalofair Games. This game is for 1 to 4 players, and the playtime varies. I couldn't leave this off the list just because this smashed so many records on Kickstarter. And I think if you love Gloomhaven, you're going to love Frosthaven. For me personally, what brought me or drew me a little bit more to Frosthaven is it offers more to the gameplay than just a lot of the combat that you see in Gloomhaven. It offers more like mysteries that you're trying to solve, seasonal events, and players can control this village that's expanding. So those things really intrigued me about Frosthaven from Cephalofair Games.
My number 7 is the Whatnot Cabinet from Pencil First Games. This is for 1 to 4 players and plays in about 30 minutes. This is an action selection game where you are going to get tiles that you then place into your curio cabinet in certain spots to try to collect sets, maybe even have them in certain positions to be able to fulfill different objectives. I like that there are lots of objectives that you can mix and match, so each game's going to be different. Also, the action that you select is going to determine your turn order for the next round. So some of the more powerful actions mean that you're going to go later, so your pick of tiles might not be as good. I really enjoyed the thinkiness in this one.
I like the puzzly nature of the rows and columns on how you're getting points on, if I can just get the right color and the right, whether it's a shell or whatever you're trying to find and put in the right spot, it really gets you lots of points. My number 7 is The Night Cage. This is Smirk and Dagger and Smirk and Laughter. I mean, it first came from Smirk and Laughter, and they're sort of sister companies to each other. But the theme, The Night Cage, really evokes more Smirk and Dagger.
But it's cooperative. So that's probably why it's the laughter.
This game is for 1 to 5 players. It takes about an hour to play. In this game, players are cooperatively working together because you're all stuck in this dark maze with just a candle. And you're trying to escape together. And I like this game. It's a tile-laying game. I like this because as a tile-laying game, the tiles are coming off the board if they become dark, if they're in the darkness. And then as they come back on, they could be monsters, they could be different shapes, and it's up to you. What I like is the puzzly nature of the game, and you're working together. It's like, we need to place this here so we can find the keys, get out of the maze, and escape through the gate all together.
Right, because you have your little candle, so you can only see the tiles that are right next to you. So as Kevin was saying, if as you start moving, some of those tiles become dark and they come off the board. So yeah, that was very interesting, trying to plan out this maze that keeps changing.
Yeah, we've won and we've lost. Of course, winning is a lot better.
For number 6, Kevin and I actually synced up with the same game, and that is Foundations of Rome from Arcane Wonders.
This is for 2 to 4 players. It takes about 60 to 90 minutes. You're building 3D structures on the table, trying to get the best place to score points. It has area control because it's a shared space of Rome, and a little Tetris-like thing going on with the tile placement with the 3D structures. But your turn is really simple, because on your turn, you choose, am I going to purchase a new lot, or am I going to build a new building, or am I going to collect income? So I liked the simplicity of your turn, but the strategy, the what's going on in the game is really mind-bending sometimes.
Yeah, you really have to think about how you're placing your lots if you want to get some of those larger buildings out, because they need a certain amount of space. So you have to have lots that are connected to do that. And you can demolish some smaller buildings to get bigger ones.
Upgrading is key to this game, key to get those bigger buildings. Emerson Matsuuchi is the designer of this, and I love all of his designs. All of them.
Yeah, and I really enjoy the tactile nature with those buildings, and even the player aid. As you're taking the buildings off and putting them on the board, you can see what powers that you have activated.
And do you go after lots of income? Do you go after those points? So there's a little bit of balancing act going on as well. Number 5 for both of us, we sync up again, is Kokopelli from Queen Games. A game for 2 to 4 players, takes about an hour to play, from Stefan Feld.
This is a hand management game where you have a deck of cards. You're going to have a certain number in your hand, and on your turn, you can either draw a card, or you could play a card to advance a ceremony that's already been started on your board, or your neighbor's boards, the 2 ceremony spots closest to you on their boards. So I find it interesting that the play area for yourself is your own board, and then half of the board to the player to your right and the player to your left. So you're really looking at what they're doing to try to see what cards you can play. Now, when we played, I got a card that let me use my neighbor's full board. So that was really nice, because that gave me 4 extra slots where I could play cards on people's ceremonies.
I think that's what you find in Kokopelli are the game-breaking cards that are in your deck. I think that's one of the key things, because every game is a little different because of what cards are in your deck. You have so many that you can choose from, but
You mean during setup, choose certain ones to put into the deck.
Yeah, so, and then they're all shuffled together in your deck, so we all have the same cards in our deck, but they come out differently.
Yeah, because there's about 30-some cards in your deck, so there's a lot of variety there in which ones come out at each time.
Right, but I was going back to the game-breaking things, I think, are what really makes this game fun for me, because, like Melissa...
Game-breaking in a good way.
Yeah, in a good way, because, like Melissa said, like, oh, I have a card that lets me work on other players' their whole villages, or I have an extra spot in my village, or I can draw more cards, or I can play more cards, I get more points. So there's a lot of different... of what I would say, I guess, just additions of rules or things like that in the game.
Yeah, special powers.
That you get not game breaking. Special
advantage
powers.
of that really makes your turns feel powerful, or you can combo things.
Yeah. So Kokopelli from Queen Games, we both liked it. Number 6. Number 5.
Number 5. So for number 4, Kevin and I are in agreement. Again. Wow. This is...
Not number 3, though.
This is Dinosaur World from Pandasaurus Games. It's for 2 to 4 players. Plays in about an hour or 2 hours. You know, depending on how many players and how long it takes people to decide what they're doing on their turn.
In the game, you are in control of your own dinosaur theme park. And it has tile laying, it's got worker placement, and a lot of other mechanics going on, resource management with your DNA and things like that. On your turn, there's different phases that are going through they're going through the game. So you're collecting your workers at the beginning, using your workers. You have your own theme park, so you can basically have your own sort of special actions that you're taking. There's a Jeep phase. I think the Jeep phase is one of my favorite things, because I really like going up the Jeep track because it unlocks new bonuses for you throughout the game. So yeah, Dinosaur World, I think we both liked it.
Yes, it's some of the phases are turn-based and some are simultaneous, so it keeps the game moving along during those simultaneous phases. I agree with Kevin. Driving your Jeep through the tiles in your park to activate them is fun. Not so fun when you have your raptors get out of control and start eating people like it did during our playthrough of the game. My raptors they needed some containment. They
Yep.
did. I do also have a how to play video of this on the channel, so you can check that out if you'd like to learn how to play Dinosaur World.
Get your biggest, best, most exciting Dinosaur World.
My number 3 is not the same as Kevin's. It is Biblios, Quill, and Parchment, and this is a roll and write game. We had to get at least one
You had to
onto
get
my
one in,
list.
definitely.
This is for 1 to 4 players, plays in about 30 to 40 minutes, and it's by Dr. Finn's Games. And if you're familiar with Biblios, it kind of is similar in that it has 2 phases, like Biblios does.
That's pretty much the similarity stuff.
True. And maybe the theme.
Sure, the theme.
So in the first 4 turns, rounds, the first phase, you are rolling your own dice and kind of Yahtzee style, deciding which ones to keep and re-roll. And then based on the results of those dice, you can fill in your book track, you can kind of go traveling, you can get abbot, you can go up the monastery, you can get abbot points that are going to be influence points that are going to be helpful in the next phase. Because in the second phase, then it's actually a bit of an auction or bidding.
A little bidding going on, yeah.
For different sets of dice and tasks. So that's where the stuff that you've built up during the first 4 rounds are going to be helpful in the last 4 rounds. And there's 2 sides to the board, so there's a little bit of variability in the game. I really enjoyed this one, trying to balance the different areas of the roll and write. And it does have some interactivity with it because of that bidding phase.
Yeah, I enjoyed Biblios, Quill, and Parchment as well. It didn't make my top 10, but I did enjoy it. I think I like the second phase a little bit more, trying to figure out, if Melissa takes that set of dice, which, there's a little bit of I wonder what set. So you want to try and get in the right spot so you can get the set of dice that you want to help.
Yeah, so first phase, you're rolling the dice. Second phase, the dice are already rolled, and then you're bidding for the different groups of dice. So it's an interesting balance to the game.
My number 3 is Ankh, Gods of Egypt. This is from Simon. It plays 2 to 5 players in about an hour and a half. This is the 3rd game in their sort of succession of games, with Blood Rage being their first one, then Rising Sun. Rising Sun's one of my favorite games. And then now Ankh. Ankh, you're building caravans, summoning monsters, and things like that. Definitely has area control as you're, sort of spreading out on the map. There's definitely battles going on, but it's not like the primary thing aren't the battles. And it's different than the previous 2, but you sort of see some hints and similarities in some of the decisions or gameplay things that are going on in the game. One of the things I really like in Ankh is the action board, because as you're taking actions, whether you're summoning monsters or moving or things like that, where your action pawn is, you have to take an action that is below the action that you took previously. So there's a little bit of planning going on. I moved. Well, that means I have only these 2 or these 3 options available to me. And once you get to a certain spot, then you can move back and go back up to the other one.
Interesting. I have not played this one, so I don't really have an opinion, but it sounds like it definitely fits a little bit more into Kevin's wheelhouse than mine.
And of course, Simon, so you have amazing miniatures. Number 2, we synced back up again for Chronicles of Crime Millennium from Lucky Duck Games. Game for 1 to 4 players. Each scenario takes about an hour and a half to play. This is the 1400. The Kickstarter had 1400, 1900, and 2400. We actually have only played the 1400 version. Of course, if you're familiar with Chronicles of Crime, or if you're not, Chronicles of Crime is you are working together as a team trying to solve the mystery, solve the crime, and it has a mixture of virtual reality and an app that you can basically go to different places, ask people certain things about certain objects, trying to figure out the clues in order to figure out the mystery of Chronicles of Crime.
Yeah, I love all of the Chronicles of Crimes. I love the system, the interactive nature with being able to scan the cards to ask the different characters about things.
Makes it unique, definitely.
Right. The 1400 had some improvements, maybe might be the right word, where it tells you if you actually own the item, have the item, or if it's just something that you know about but you don't have yet. So it has different areas of the board where you put your cards. 1400 has a companion dog that can sniff the items. So that's kind of fun. That a lot. He can, sniff the items and help you find who they belong to or where those people are. So that was a fun added
I
element.
like the theme. I like the 1400 theme a lot. And this was, of course, kickstarted earlier this year. This is actually the published copy, so you actually might be able to get your hands on the game before the end of the year if you haven't already. So not a lot of these Kickstarters that we've talked about are even available yet.
Right.
So this was sort of on my, should this actually be on my Kickstarter list since it's already published? But
they've only have the first one, the 1400.
Right.
They sent out the boxes and everything, but the app, the stories are only available for this one so far.
So 1400, Chronicles of Crime, Lucky Duck did a great job with this one. Our number one, because we synced up for the last one, is Dead Reckoning from AEG. This is a game for 1 to 4 players, and the game takes about 2 hours to play.
2 hours, give or take a little bit.
Depends on how many players you're playing with.
So this is a card crafting game from John D. Clare, and I have enjoyed all of the other card crafting games. There's Mystic Vale, there's Edge of Darkness, and this one I really loved. It's more interactive than a lot of the games that I normally play, but I still enjoyed it. So basically, you are the captain, you have a crew and on your boat, and those are going to be your cards. You're going to be able to upgrade your crew throughout the game.
I really like that.
You're going to be able to sail your ship to different tiles and discover new things. Usually those are the cards that you can then purchase to be able to upgrade your ship and your crew. You have, there's battling.
There's battling.
There is battling in there. It has this battle board where you're going to determine how many cubes each player gets based on their cannons and other things, the crew that they have in their hand at that moment. And then you drop the cubes down this cube tower ship battle
like
board.
This a little bit more than I thought she would.
Because it is random, and I usually don't like a lot of randomness, but your cubes are landing in these spots, and you're usually getting things.
Yeah, either way.
Whether or not you win the battle or not. So it's not like, oh, I lost.
Oh, well.
That's it.
Yeah, I sort of did my turn for nothing. That's not what this game is.
You're usually still getting cargo, or you're getting coins. You don't want to actually completely blow up, though, because then you're going to give points to the other player. But there was something kind of exciting about what's going to happen when I drop these cubes.
Yeah, the exciting things for me in this game were the exploration because of the way the board, I should loosely tiles that are laid out. As you're moving your ship to the different areas, you're exploring these different areas and you're uncovering things, getting more cards that are available to you to upgrade your crew. So I really like that. I like the different paths that you can take. Paths in that, do I want to go the more battling route, so I will put more cannons on my ships? Should I make my ship bigger so that it can hold more? So a more merchant-y sort of thing going on. There's even on those different tiles, the islands, you can build buildings, which can sort of protect you or things like that, or have you do more, give you more benefits and stuff.
You can kind of go more of a settlement route, building your settlements and trying to control those islands because they're going to be worth points. There are, I think, about 10 objectives. Reminds me a little bit of Scythe. Achievements, where you get them once you accomplish them, and it's going to give you points, and getting a certain number of achievements is going to trigger the end of the game. So,
Dead Reckoning, that's our number one.
Really, really enjoyed it. It's a lot of fun.
All right, let's move to our honorable mentions.
I have 2 honorable mentions, and these are games that other studios did, but I did get a chance to play them. And one is Cascadia from Flat Out Games. And I really, really love Calico.
Yes.
And this is another tile laying game with, this is more of Pacific Northwest animals and really thinky with how you're picking your tiles and placing them.
Double tile laying almost because of the way you're putting sort of tokens on top of the tiles.
Right. So not only you're placing your tiles, you're putting the tokens to try to score the tokens. It has multiple goals that you can switch out for games, so there's the variability that I like with it. Really enjoyed Cascadia. The other one is Cartographers Heroes. Cartographers is like my top roll and write game, so obviously I'm enjoying more content in that universe with this standalone, not necessarily expansion because it is standalone, but the heroes added interesting element to it where they can kind of shoot the monsters and attack them. So I really enjoyed Cartographers Heroes from Thunderworks.
From Thunderworks. I also have a few honorable mentions as well. These are actually games that we did an overview or preview videos on. Just didn't make the top 10, but there are so many awesome games out there. I wanted to just mention them. The first one here is Holi from Floodgate Games. You might see this on another list. That's because this game is actually available now. So
it made it through Kickstarter campaign to production this year.
I would say if it wasn't published, this would definitely be on my top 10.
Yeah,
but I have to make decisions and
three-dimensional
share
nature. The three-dimensional nature of it's really cool, and the patterns that
Yeah.
you're trying to make.
I agree with you. I think the table presence really draws you in. The gameplay is fun with the area control, so definitely check out Holi from Floodgate Games. A couple others I'll just throw out there. Museum Pictura, like the set collection. I like the museum series. This one just has pictures on it. The Matchbox collection from Thunderworks Games. I don't know if you played a couple of them with me maybe.
I think I did.
But it's basically 5 small box games. I love what they did with that series, and some of those games are really, really cool. So check out the Matchbox collection from Thundergriff Games. And then the last one I'll mention is Freedom 5, another game from Arcane Wonders, who also did Foundations of Rome. From Freedom 5, if you're not familiar with Sentinels of the Multiverse, they took that game, that theme, and they made it into a hero-based cooperative game as you are all working together as heroes to fight the big bad guy.
So kind of similar to Defenders of the Realm. And Richard Lanius was one of the designers that worked on that one.
So we would love for you to tell us in the comments what games you really enjoyed that you saw on Kickstarter. Maybe you didn't get to play them, but maybe on this list, or maybe you backed one, or more than one of those games.
Yeah, we know that there are a lot of tons of big Kickstarter campaigns that didn't make it on our list because we didn't actually preview them.
Yeah, but we would love to hear your thoughts about what Kickstarters you really thought were amazing. Tell us in the comments below. And look for our other top 10 videos, top 10 girls, top 10 guys videos coming out, top 10 from Studio 3 Kickstarter games. So lots coming out this December. Thanks again for watching. Please like and subscribe.